Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. So next up is this new 3M Extract sander. So I know for those that follow me, you've already actually seen this in action, but I needed to go ahead and do a whole video on it and to do a proper review. Even though I did most of the work with it on this bench, I wanted to do a proper review video and compare it to my Festool. So that's what we're going to do. Again, this is the 3M Extract. I did go and buy some of their recommended paper for it, and I'm going to put this side by side against my Festool 150-5, and both will be on CT26 vacs. I do have two of those in the shop, so the comparison should be pretty good. And like I said, you probably already see most of that footage in this bench, but I'm going to put it back in here as well. And then at the very end, I'll go ahead and come back and kind of give you my thoughts and my likes, my dislikes, and all that stuff. But for now, let's get it unboxed and just kind of look at initial impressions. Okay, so first impressions out of the box. The packaging, nothing special about that. I'm sure it was fine, and I'm sure the sander will work fine, although I have not plugged it in yet. I will be the first to admit I'm not typically a fan of the paddle style, because when we change paper, we do this, and right, so, but it does have the switches on here, so I can turn it off, but it is an extra step. Is that a deal breaker? No, probably not. Also, I did a little bit of research, and this dust port that's on the back is not set up to fit my Festool hose, but I'll be changing this out because I did order the correct adapter to put on this so that we can do a fair test. It does seem fairly well balanced. It is comfortable in the hand. But obviously the real test will be when we actually get sanding on this bench. Okay, so there's the sander set next to my Festool 150-5. This is the older model. It's not the lower profile, so there is quite a bit of height difference. I've used this sander for quite a few years. You all have seen it on a lot of projects, and this is one of my favorite Festool sanders. So I think that's a good comparison for this guy. Price points, there is a little difference in the price points. This one is a bit less expensive, but it's still not cheap by any means. And I'm really looking forward to doing this test. The paper, for the Festool, I typically run the Rubin 2, and it's been really good. It's held up really well. Dust collection has always been great, as it usually is with the Festool. And on this new 3M, I picked up some of their Cubitron paper, which is a little bit different. It's almost see-through and has this pattern in it. So we're going to see, we're testing the paper as well as the sander, but this is made to go with this, so that's what we're going to use. So we're trying to do a real heads-up comparison. When next you see these sanders, they will be going on this bench. Now this bench has not even had its initial sanding in the top yet, so I'm going to hit it with my Festool Rotex first with 80 grit just to get everything flat and level, and then we're going to mark it up and split the bench in half and apply 120 grit, and that's the sanding we're going to go through on this bench. So let me get Jeff here and all that good stuff, and we'll do that sanding, and then I'll come back and give you my final thoughts. That's probably going to be a few days away. So for now, I'm just going to put these away, and we're going to get going on this bench, and I'll give you my final thoughts on the other end. Okay guys, so we're here to do the sanding test, and I'm going to start off with the new 3M Extract. Jeff's going to start off with the Festool. I know you can't see it, at least on this view, but we've marked this table all up with pencil, split it in half, and we're just gonna do a side-by-side comparison. Also, you can't see it up here, but I also have a high camera looking down over the top of all of this, so hopefully I get some good footage out of that. But I'm gonna move this camera up closer as well and get it as high and as tight as I can, just to get the best camera footage for the video. So let me change that camera around and we're gonna get sanding. We're gonna do one round and then we're gonna switch, right? I know you've been looking forward to using this sander, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting comparison because I really don't have any experience with either of these sanders, and I know they're both highly regarded and sometimes compared, so it's gonna be interesting to see which one I like, using both of them for practically the first time.
Right. So what sander are you currently using in your shop?
I have more budget-friendly sanders. I think I have a Makita and I have a DeWalt right now.
Okay. So these are a serious up. Either one of these would be a serious upgrade.
Oh yeah,
for you,
definitely.
Right? So that's cool, and that's kind of the comparison we want. So you'll get it from somebody who's never used either, and then of course I'll offer my opinion as well, which I used this one for years, and I love that sander. But I'm interested to give this one a try. So let me change the camera around, and we'll get to sanding. So before we get going, I do want to point out that both sanders are set up with manufacturer's suggested 120 paper. Both sanders are hooked up to a CT26 Festool vacuum, and the 3M does work with the vacuum, so that's a good thing. So let's get to sanding.
All right.
So we're going to change sanding, put the paper back on each one, and we're going to switch positions in this again. Okay, so no pencil this time, just another full round of sanding, and then I'll get your opinions first. Thank you. Okay, well the bench feels great. Obviously it looks great. So what are your opinions on the two sanders?
Well, you know, honestly, when I was looking at both of these sanders before we started, I was playing with them by hand and stuff, and I was really excited about the 3M, thinking that I had a preconceived notion that maybe I would like that one better. And I started with the Festool, and I noticed how smooth it was, and I really liked it a lot. They're very different ergonomically because I tend to like to hold on the top when I'm sanding, and I thought this was going to be a lot better. A downside maybe was the paddle. So the paddle always has to be engaged for it to be on. And then when we switched, I noticed that this one had a little bit more vibration to me. I can still feel the tingling in my hand a little bit. And it kind of skidded a little bit. Maybe I needed to play with the adjustments a little bit more, but all in all, I think they're both really good sanders, and I'd be happy to own both of them. But
Hey guys, kind of this just in. Jeff's had about a week with this sander now and has reported back that the speed adjustments on that sander really do make a difference. So I think probably a little bit more than the Festool. So he's been able to find a sweet spot with the speed setting on this sander where he isn't experiencing the hand fatigue that we got in the test. I just wanted to make sure to get that information in there so I could be completely fair in this review on the sander. So take that for what it's worth, but I wanted you to know.
honestly, it surprised me. If I had to go pick one tomorrow and take one home, I think I would still go with the Festool. And you know, when I feel the surfaces, with both of them, I feel like this one feels a little bit smoother and feels like a little bit better. So that's kind of my take. I think I'd have to use both of them a little bit more to really give a really good indication. But from what we did, I think I'd go with the Festool.
So fair points. I wanted you to go first, right, rather than me influencing anything that you would have to say. So for starters, I agree with you. The hand fatigue was definitely more on the 3M than it was on this one. Some of which I think is because you have to engage that paddle all the time, where this one you can lock the trigger on and you can move your hands around on the sander and keep driving it.
Good point.
And you mentioned the jumpiness of that one, and I noticed that as well. And I don't know if that's just because of a difference in paper or what the deal is. I did notice that that one cut the lines quicker than the Festool did.
Okay.
So I think it was a quicker sand than the Festool.
Yeah.
But as you pointed out, the finish on the same grit feels significantly different to me.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's kind of my take on it. I'm not a fan of the paddle. I never have been. But I was hoping, to be honest, I was hoping for a little bit more out of something in that price point. It's still a nice sander, don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, definitely a nice
but
sander.
I think that this was about as fair a comparison as we could make.
Yeah.
And the other side of that too is now we got your bench top sanded, so that's all.
And when it comes to the vibration, I noticed that I was maybe pushing a little bit harder and it was skidding, but I kind of let off to where I didn't really have much pressure down on it. It kind of reduced that skidding.
Sure.
So.
Sure. And it's fresh paper and, you know, all that stuff. So there you go, guys. There is a straight up comparison between the two, and I'm really hoping my overhead footage turned out great so that you guys could see, you know, kind of the lines disappearing. And I will speed the actual sanding portions of these up in the edit, just because nobody wants to watch people sand. And there's one more cool thing in this particular one. I bought the sander with my own money purely to do this video and this test. I'm pretty much a Festool guy through and through when it comes to sanders. So my friend, that sander's going to your shop.
Oh,
that's your new sander.
Wow, that's amazing.
So I was hoping you would like it more, but that one's going to your shop.
No, this is, oh, thank you so much. That is awesome. But this is a beautiful sander, and be happy to own it.
Now you got to go buy the extractor. So anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this one. I hope you got something out of it, and I hope you enjoy your new sander.
Yep.
And until next time, guys, take care.